like to read another of the blog posts that I wrote relating to a trip that I took with my partner and 2 friends on a cruise ship from Rome across the Atlantic to Florida. This post is called Brutality and Pleasure in the Heart of the Empire. I'm hardly what you'd call a seasoned traveler, but I'm pretty sure I'm safe in saying there's nothing quite like visiting the Colosseum as a tourist.
Spectacular naval games using the system of channels with which Nero had created this private lake. This became impossible.
Most historic sites that draw crowds do so because of great art or architecture, cultural significance, historical importance, their ability to inspire awe, or their meaning as a place where people exhibited heroism, suffering, and death. I can't think of any other tourist attraction that blends all of these things in the way the Colosseum does.
Along the long axis of the ellipse. These rooms hosted the equipment needed for the games, weapons, cages for animals and machinery, including 80 winch-operated lifts, which raised men, stage sets, and wild beasts up to the arena level through the trapdoors and inclines. The central gallery continued.
As we walked around and inside it, it was almost impossible not to crack a joke or two about gladiators and spectacle. We talked about how time is what makes this so. One wouldn't dream about making jokes about the Holocaust in Berlin, and yet thousands suffered and died in brutal and savage and inventive ways right where we were, and their deaths were sport and entertainment.
Gladiators could reach the underground level of the amphitheater directly through this passageway. Another underground tunnel, the so-called passage.
I felt a profound, macabre disconnect between the place the Colosseum held in the public life of Rome and the savage ends that so many people and animals found on the floor of the arena.
They're all square, so behind them there's an open space a bit bigger than the size of the size of an arch. And then you hit the interior wall. And there's a big, thick section because that's where the stands are above it.
Okay.
And you can walk partway through here, except that it's all closed off, but you used to be able to walk, because we're probably at the level of the floor itself.
I'm sometimes thought by others to be too serious, and I know I have a thin skin, but I experienced a deep disquiet when fellow tourists posed for photos, smiling in front of a ruined column or an old wall, which was built to showcase the torture and gruesome deaths of thousands. The 3 selfie stick vendors outside the gates added an incongruous layer to this that I don't even know how to comment on.
Also not having a roof long either, right?
As my portable audio guide device described the various ways in which executions were carried out as a sort of halftime show before the main event of the gladiatorial fights, stabbing, mauling by animals, crucifixion, burning at the stake, I felt quick tears for all the suffering. Suffering as entertainment for 50,000 spectators is even more difficult and painful to comprehend.
4.
Yeah.
4.
3 blind.
Is there a discount for blind?
For disabled?
For free.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we
A
buy
good
the
day.
audio guide?
Oh, and the audio.
2 audio guides?
Audio guides.
Yeah.
Fortunately, in the afternoon, we went to the ruins of the Baths of Caracalla, which was a balm to the spirit, as all baths are meant to be. The grounds of this enormous structure were wonderfully peaceful in contrast to the bustling and crowded Stadium of Death. There was a wonderful portable audio guide which, unlike the one in the Colosseum, was accessible for blind people so we could operate it ourselves.
Can you get the idea of the size of this one?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can move in a bit.
Hey, thanks.
There are smaller rooms. You can hear the...
As with the Colosseum, the political agenda of the architecture is clear. 30-meter ceilings and vast arches are clear statements of the power ancient Rome could command, both in terms of raw labor and the sophisticated science of large-scale design. Hot pools, cold pools, Olympic-sized swimming pools, saunas, libraries, gardens, restaurants, sports areas. They knew how to enjoy themselves. And refreshingly, it wasn't just the wealthy. The baths were built by emperors and aristocrats, but were open to all. You would have to pay for the massage or depilation services offered upstairs, but when hasn't that been true?
Overflow if there was a lot of people in the
Yeah,
pool.
so that would put it about waist deep.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that would also put it very close to that. There are
Civilization is a complex concept. Why build an empire? So that you can offer your citizens the chance to watch defeated enemies die brutally? Or so you can develop the infrastructure necessary to build an aqueduct system capable of sustaining public baths? The baths we visited burned 10 tons of wood a day in order to heat the pools and saunas, a triumph of infrastructure. The Colosseum was the site of thousands and thousands of brutal deaths carried out for sport over centuries. The Colosseum was terrible and impenetrable to me, a place iconic of the absolute worst in human nature. The baths, which thankfully we visited last, suggested some of the best. I'm sure there was slave labor involved in building and sustaining the baths, which was brutal too, but at least it wasn't brutality for its own sake. There's a satisfying symmetry for me that, even after 2,000 years, a visit to the baths is still a peaceful and restorative experience.
and it was.
It sure was, yeah. But it was sort of a political statement of how,
Yeah, let's take
greatness.
9,000 people.
Look what we can do. Yeah, we have all this at our command.
Then the Goths just move in and say that